Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Christine Dixon of The Ordinary Sacred. And as promised, I want to make a video about the relationship between a person who has a dominant front-facing cluster of narcissistic parts with a person who has a dominant front-facing cluster of codependent parts. These people often attract each other. We're going to see why. And kind of the dynamic of that relationship. So I'm going to share my screen here. I don't like the terms narcissistic and codependent because they pathologize, they're fraught with all kinds of shaming. And so I prefer to just say taker parts and giver parts. And so, and again, these are parts of a person. They are not the whole person. They present because they helped the person survive. I encourage you to watch the last two videos I did on narcissism and codependency. But this is the dynamic that often happens, is that the taker, the person who has a cluster of what are called narcissistic parts, they're kind of saying me, because that's what they had to do to survive. Their motto is, you need to sacrifice yourself for me. I am priority here, so you need to sacrifice for me. And I need to be in control to feel safe. Whereas the person who presents with the cluster of codependent or giving parts says, you, right? My focus is on you. I need to sacrifice myself for you. And I need you to be happy in order for me to feel safe. Again, you can see here that they both agree with one another. I often, when I presented this in the past, I made it like a pendulum where this is like opposite sides, opposite extremes of a pendulum. And somewhere in the middle would be a self-led system that would say, you and me. I give to you from overflow. I give to you when it's not at the expense of my own needs. I am the primary caretaker of myself, and you are the primary caretaker of yourself, and we come together as secondary caretakers for one another. So that would be in the center. But when one person's system is in an extreme on this side, because when they were young, they had to assert themselves in this really dominant way, and they had to put themselves at the top in order to survive. And they combine with this person who essentially had to appease their caregiver or had to take care of them because they were a drug addict, or, they had their parents had their own issues and wasn't stable, so they had to become a parentified child. They learned that the caregiver, the person in front of me, I have to take care of them and make them happy in order to feel safe, right? So again, you can see why they would work together, because they agree. You have to sacrifice yourself for me. I need to sacrifice myself for you. You're right, right? And then this is the same thing that was on the last slide, but the only reason why I kind of did it in this way is I wanted to change the arrows because the giver is kind of focused and giving on the taker, and the taker is also focused on themselves. They're not, and not always, but if you think about attachment styles, sometimes the taker is more avoidant and, going in their own direction, and the giver is more anxiously attached and, I've got to make you happy. I've got to be okay with you. And it's kind of more grasping at them to feel safe. This, I prefer, again, this kind of continuum, spectrum. And again, I don't like narcissistic codependent because of, I'll just keep saying it, because of the shame involved with those pathologies. But on the one extreme, there's the extreme taking, and these are burden parts. On the other extreme is the extreme giving, and those are burden parts. And in the middle is a self-led balance of self and other. And so the healthy version of the extreme taking is a healthy value of self, and the healthy version of the extreme giving is a healthy value of others. And so when we're in this self-led place, there's a both and, you and me. And last thing I'll talk about in this video, I'm going to do some more videos on this as well. I love this, what Anita Moorjani talks about. She says, you know, both arrogance and self-sacrifice are extreme, right? They're a group of burden parts that are protective. In arrogance or narcissism, the volume dial for me is turned all the way up, and the volume dial for you is turned all the way down. In codependence or people-pleasing, for those parts, the dial for you is turned all the way up, and the volume dial for me is turned all the way down. So some people think the solution is to turn both of them down, but Anita Moorjani says, no, the solution is to turn both of the dials all the way up. So you have a both, you and me. And I'll just show that in these images. So taker parts, dial turned up on me, turned down on you. Giver parts, dial turned down on me, turned up on you. The balance of self-leadership is the dial is turned all the way up on me and all the way up on you. I'll do this slide just real quickly as well. The solution is really interdependence for both the narcissist and codependent parts, or the taker and the giver parts. I am responsible for me, and you are responsible for you. I am my own primary caregiver, and you are your own primary caregiver. I tend to the wounded parts inside of me, and you tend to the wounded parts inside of you. A relationship takes two people, and I only have control over half that equation. I can't control you, and I can't fix you or save you. So I care for myself well, and I give to you from overflow. If and when your protective parts are harming me, I create space. So you'll see there that the solution for both people is to be their own primary caregiver, right? Because the taker is saying, you need to take care of me. And the solution is, no, I need to first and foremost take care of me. And the giver is saying, I need to take care of you. And the solution is actually for them to say, no, I first and foremost need to take care of me. And then give from overflow, right? So it's not a selfish, narcissistic view to take care of oneself. It's not saying, I'm taking care of myself above and beyond you. It usually for the giver, it's, I am bringing myself to be equal to you, that I actually have value and self-agency now. And I feel empowered to care for myself first, because we each are the most highly equipped to care for ourselves. It's actually quite a selfish thing to say, you need to care for me because I'm not caring for myself, right? And even when you have two, sometimes you'll have a relationship with two codependent people or two givers, and they're both just so focused on each other and still very, there's still this angst and urgency around, I've got to make sure that I'm taking care of you, and they're not taking care of themselves, right? And so I often say, you know, if there's two giver codependent people together, it's like this, they're leaning on each other, and if one of them falls, it collapses, right? With I guess a taker and a giver, it's more like this, like I'm supporting you. With two givers, it's like this, but again, it's very unstable. With two self-led people who are their own primary caregivers, it's like two deeply rooted, grounded trees. And as they care for themselves, their branches and their leaves begin to grow, and they begin to intertwine. They have interdependence, where I am my own primary caregiver and I enjoy your presence. You're my secondary caregiver. There may be times when I genuinely cannot care for myself. Maybe I have a physical illness or something like that, and you choose to care for me from overflow. You still primarily give to yourself, and then you can give from overflow. And if you can't give to me, you enlist help from other people, right? Who can give from overflow, right? So I hope that makes sense. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments below.